Perfect. Perfect. Alright, apologies in advance. The next 3 video series I'm going to do on the R31 are quite disjointed, so they all kind of happen in conjunction. There was the rear drum and disc brake swap, the front disc brake swap, and then the sort of halfway hangs build. So I wanted to get them all complete for halfway hangs, but to make the narrative sort of make more sense, or at least the episodes have kind of a bit of a trend because everything was so disjointed, I'm going to do the front brake conversion first, the rear brake conversion second, and then the overall halfway hangs build third, and they all sort of mesh together randomly throughout. As far as the front build itself, or the front brake swap itself, the idea was to get 32 GTR brakes onto an R31 and have them effectively bolt on. So I wanted to run the TI wheel still, which meant I needed to run spacers. So I don't explain it in the video, but I thought a 30mm spacer would be enough. It turns out you need exactly 42, probably 43 would be better. But I think that if you can get 42 and sort of skim the caliper down just a little bit, it'll fit the TI wheels under the guards still. If you went to 43 or 44, it might push you outside of the guards a little bit. So I ended up running S13 coilover, S13 knuckle, heaps of camber, I think like 3.5 or 4 degrees of camber, an S13 knuckle, an R31 TI wheel, an R32 GTR caliper and pads and disc. I re-drilled the disc from 5 stud to 4 stud, and I also ran an R31 lower control arm and an R31 tie rod end and rack end. And then Hell braided lines that go from R31 chassis to 4-pot Nissan caliper, which in this instance obviously is an R32 GTR caliper. So that's the setup in the front, and the setup in the rear is slightly different. Right, so it is the 29th of December at the moment, so it's that awkward time between Christmas and New Year's, but you don't really know what to do with yourself. So I decided to complete something, or at least continue completing something I started in 2014, maybe 15. Anyway, this is a 32 GTR front brake rotor. I've got the calipers to match, and I want to put them on the front of my R31 wagon. So the wagon runs 4-stud hub and a 4-stud rim, so I would like to run the factory wheel, which is a TI wheel, which is the same as that. So that is a 4-stud. So you can fit 32 GTR brakes, I believe, by running a 30mm spacer. So I've re-drilled this to 4-stud, which is the same as that pattern there, and the same as this, which is a R31 4-stud brake rotor. So the way I did it all those years ago was put a 12mm bolt through the hole, because there's a 12mm hole, and bolt it onto one of the 5-stud holes, because that makes it most accurate, and then it lined up this center ring. Now, upon installing that on a hub, I can see that the gap on one side is slightly bigger than the gap on the other side, which means that past me was a dumbass and didn't center the hole properly, or I just drilled it crooked. Both are highly likely. Both will likely happen today as well. So we've got another 32 GTR brake disc here, and this one is still just a 5-stud. So I'm about to start drilling it out to a 4-stud, or a multi-stud rather. So just feeling around here, the edge is pretty close around the whole thing. I don't think I can get it much better. This is rattle gunned up nice and tight, so you should probably, you know, like draw these and mark them and drill press them and blah 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 blah. What I'm going to do is get the 12.5mm drill bit and center the drill bit on that hole, and then mark, like make an imprint in the center with the drill bit. So once they're marked, I'll then drop the drill size down to a pilot hole, buzz that all the way through, and yeah, basically just drill it out bigger and bigger and bigger until I get to the 12.5mm, and then I'll have 2 cracked and ruined cross-drilled R32 GTR front rotors and 2 calipers that are worn out and probably buggered as well, that I can then get some brake lines for and some spacers and slap them on the wagon so that my brakes are worse than they currently are. It's a good plan. Let's get into it. Alright, so you can see I've just buzzed a pilot hole in each one of them. So to begin with, I used a big drill bit on a center hole, and then stuffed the pilot hole down through the middle. So we're 3mm first. Next is a 6.5mm. Seems like an appropriate jump. And I'll just keep going until this one fits all the way through. Try and keep it straight. You know, you can still screw it up by going really crooked. Just the best you can is probably good enough. Just don't do 300 kilometers an hour with these. So with a little careful setting up of that center ring, matching the center ring of this one before I started drilling, and a whole lot of WD-40 and a brand new Christmas set of drill bits, so they're nice and sharp, first use only. We can see that this 4-stud hub fits quite nicely. There we go, look at that. Fits really well, no play or anything, onto the 32 GTR disc. So yeah, we've got a downgraded disc as 4-stud life, but if we look at past me's attempt and we try and line this hole up, where is it? There we go. It doesn't quite sit down. If I hit it, now let me just get the boot into it. There we go. So you can see that it does sit flush and it does sit on there, but it lifts the whole disc up and it doesn't quite slide on and off. I'm comfortable to run it because I'm not an idiot, and I won't exceed what I'm comfortable with. I'll take it for a drive, I'll test it. I plan to replace these anyway. Pretty sure you can buy blanks, and I'll get them drilled by a professional instead of my dodgy backyard job. And yeah, for now these will work for a test fit up and get it all working, so we're going to run that. Alright, so I just picked up the last parcel I need for the wagon. Hopefully we've got some wheel spacers here, and with any luck, oop, nothing else. That's great. Let's see what they got in here. Ah, here it is. So this is the RB25 like gear shifter recentering spring kit, detent kit, I don't know what you call it. Anyway, hopefully, much like the yoke, these are the same for a MX-7, which is a VL turbo gearbox, as they are an RB25 turbo gearbox, trans spring. Anyway, so this will be interesting to test. It was only 25 bucks, and then these will hopefully get me out of trouble with my R32 GTR front discs and calipers on the S13 front end with the TI wheels. Now everybody knows GK Tech makes pretty flash stuff, so these are 30mm spacers. Hub centric, of course, and they're quite nice. Anyway, I think all up this was like 160 bucks or something. These are like 150 maybe. What was that? 175, fucking maths. Anyway, hit them up. They're awesome. No sponsorship or anything. They just make good parts. Alright, Sam. So here's my 30mm bolt-on spacer from GK Tech. So factory studs and factory nuts. And then these steel studs with steel nuts. And then 2 of these RB factory spacers, 6mm piece. Then the wheel. So these are all my old brakes, and I need to replace the lower control arm, tie rod, blah blah blah. I'll fix all that later. I just want to see what it looks like with this on, and it'll poke out a bit too much, but let's see what it looks like. So this has got maybe 45mm of poke, so I might be able to save it with some camber, but we shall see. Looks kind of monster truckish, don't you think? Anyway, we'll see what happens. Alright, so we've got an S13 lower control arm here and an R31 lower control arm here. They're pretty close to lined up, and as you can see there is a bit of a difference, hopefully about 30mm. So I'm going to guess that it's definitely not going to pull in as much as I'm hoping here, so we're going to have to camber the shit out of this front setup. So goodbye half decent free tyres, hello camber wear and defects. So let's smash this in and fix it when I get back. Okay, so this is just with the R31 lower arm LCA mocked up, so nothing's really bolted in. The arm's bolted in, but the steering isn't. Anyway, this came in from 45 down to like 37, 8, something like that, so still a decent gap, but got these magic boys up here, so we'll fuck around with them, see what happens. Can also play with the mounting bolts and tip it in a little bit further, just see if we can get at least this tread section under the guard here, and the rest of this can sort of hang out as we go, but we'll see what happens.